Section E, essay type number 6, much shorter, but there are many questions. Macro Solutions Incorporated, a hardware manufacturer, has experienced a rapid growth. Macro is considering 2 new capital expenditure projects and has a weighted average cost of capital of 10%. Project A requires an investment of 155, gives these many cash flows. Project B requires an investment of 240, gives these many cash flows for 5 years. Wendy Alexander, CFO of Macro, has been asked to analyze both projects and provide a recommendation. She has compiled this data. Initial investment, annual cash flow for A. Initial investment, annual cash flow for B. Apparently a much simpler assay type. This is the typical exam type question involving the computation of IRR. Questions involving IRR computation will be like these. Please remember. Recurring cash flows, initial investment. Please pay special attention. How do we calculate internal rate of return for such projects? So you have to calculate IRR for both of these projects. Let's do the working right here and we can show our report results in the next page. Remember, gentlemen, IRR is the rate at which the present value of inflows is equal to your initial investment. IRR is a rate, we just discussed a little while earlier, at which present value of inflows is equal to present value of outflows, or present value of inflows is equal to initial investment, because here we just have one investment at year 0. Otherwise, there can be multiple investment in year 0, year 3, 5. In that case, we use the word present value of inflows is equal to present value of outflows. But right here, there's just a single investment. So I've written the word PV of inflows is equal to initial investment. We'll do the same thing for project B. Present value of inflows is equal to initial investment. This is the specific way to calculate IRR. Attention. So this project requires an investment of $155,000. Annual cash flows of $43,000. Coming for the 5 years at a certain rate which we do not know. We need to calculate IRR. Don't take the cost of capital. We are not discounting. We are finding IRR. Remember. So what you will do, you will write annuity factor for the 5th year or for 5 years at a certain rate which we do not know. This is the rate that we have to calculate. If you make annuity factor AF as the subject of the equation, AF is equal to 155 divided by 43,000. Gentlemen, this is how you find IRR without using any financial calculator. 155,000 divided by 43,000 is 3.604. 3.604. Right? Calculate it. Now what you will do? So you will open your time value table. You will open the annuity factor table. In the 5th year row, you need to see your annuity factor of 3.6. 3.6, 3.6, 3.6, 3.604 exact. That's what we were looking for. 3.60465. That is our number, which we just calculated. 3.60465. 12%. Right straight away. 12%. So our IRR for this project is simply 12%. That's how you do it. Let's do the same thing for our second project. Present value of inflows of $60,000 multiply with the annuity factor AF, 5 years at a certain percentage which we do not know. Initial investment in this case is 240. Annuity factor X percentage, 5th year, 240,000 divided by 60 gives you an exact 4. We need to look for an annuity factor in the 4th year row that is closest to 4. Right? This is the one. Closest to 4. Again, 5th year row. 4.0 and 3.99. Now, which of these is closest to 4? It's 4.1, it's 3.99. If we just look at this closely, 8 is much closer to 4 than 7% is away from 4. Much closer, 3.9927. It's 4.1. So I would go for 8. It's quite apparent. So 8% is the IRR for the second project. Simple. So IRR for the second project is 8%. So gentlemen, ladies, this is the kind of question you should expect on your CMA exam. IRR computation would be as simple as this. You do not need any sophisticated financial calculator or some advanced tools which we use in ACCA. We have some interpolation formulas. No need. Simply use this formula and you are good to go. So let us see the result. Do they match? They should. 12% for project A, 8% for project B. Perfect. Right. This is the way you go. Next question. Based on the IRR of each project and a capital rationing constraint of 275,000, what recommendation should Alexander make regarding the projects? Let us write down the information we have gathered so far. What do we know so far is that project A has an internal rate of return of 12%. Project B has an internal rate of return of 8%. And we have the funds available which we can deploy. Capital rationing means limited funds are available. Where should we invest this money? First of all, the cost of capital is 10%. This project is generating 8% return, which means it is rejected straight away. Even if we have sufficient funds, we won't put money in project B because it is giving us 8% IRR, whereas the cost of capital is 10%. So we will inject this money in project A. Why? Because IRR is greater than the cost of capital. It will result in positive NPV. But if you were to invest in project B, since the cost of capital is 10, IRR is 8, it will give you negative NPV, hence not acceptable. Right? So under the capital constraints, 275,000 available can be put in project A. 155 still will have sufficient cash available. Under no circumstances should we go for B because IRR is less than our cost of capital. Just this much information given in suitable words is enough. Enough. Right? Let's see what he has done. This is project A would be recommended because it has got higher IRR than the cost of capital. B has got lower. So this much money must be invested in project A because of it's giving higher IRR. Sufficient. No more, no less. It is covering everything what you need to give. Okay, what about next question 3? If macro has no capital rationing constraint, if you have sufficient money, what recommendation should Alexander make? Even if you have sufficient money, project B has a lower IRR, 8%, lower than the cost of capital. We should never invest in project B, even if we have sufficient cash. So the result in this is Alexander would have no change in her recommendation. Project A will be invested, even if you have less cash or more cash. Project B is not worth it. It is giving you less return than our cost of capital. Not recommended at all. Done. Question number 4. Calculate the payback period for both projects. Show your calculations. Assume 4 years maximum payback. See, now you have got the hand on the nerve of the examiner. How does he test you on section E? Straightforward question now. This is the initial investment divided by the annual cash flows 43. 155 slash 43. This is how you show your working. It's 3.604. For the second project, this is the initial investment. 240 divided by 60. Stayed as 4. So both of these projects are paying you off either at 4 or 1 year or just a little earlier before 4. Less than 4. Both projects are okay with regard to the payback period. Question number 5, I think, or 4. No need of this much working. No need. We got the same result. 3.6 and 4 years. It is just that I've taken the suggested result from your exam support package. But go for my recommendation. Save your time. Simply give it in a couple of lines or one single line is sufficient. you need to give the number. No need of this extra working. It won't get any extra credit. It's a simple payback calculation, doesn't require so much detail. It will waste your time typing in all this information. So go for just a couple of lines for both, and it's good to go. Then identify and explain 2 advantages of using NPV over IRR and 1 advantage of using IRR over NPV. NPV, first you need to give 2 advantages of NPV. NPV is a more sophisticated investment evaluation tool. It considers the absolute increase in the shareholders' wealth by calculating the NPV in absolute dollar amount, right? Whereas IRR is a single percentage rate. When you have to give some advantage of an IRR over NPV, so you can say the IRR is a simple 1% rate that is easy to compare with different projects. It's easy for managers to understand, easy to explain. And that's all straightforward. So NPV results in dollar amount. It's more straightforward. Supports different discount rates over the life of the project. What does it mean? Means if your project is of 7 years duration, and if you find that the initial 3 years could be very risky, you can use a higher discount rate for year 1, year 2, year 3, but later on 4, 5, 6, 7 will be less riskier, so the discount rate can be reduced to, let's say, 6%. This is possible in NPV calculation, but not in IRR. So NPV supports different discount rates over the life of the project, right? It supports conventional, unconventional cash flows. Conventional means year 0 outflow and then all the years are inflow. This is the conventional method. Unconventional means investment in year 0, again in year 3, again in year 5. So it's sometimes cash positive, negative, positive, negative. This is called unconventional. This is conventional. So NPV supports both. That's the advantage of NPV over IRR. Advantages of IRR over NPV. IRR is easier to compare between different projects. Percentage versus percentage, easier. It avoids estimation of discount rates because IRR itself is a rate. So we don't need a rate to calculate. Just like for NPV we need a discount rate. For IRR we don't need a discount rate. IRR itself is a rate. That's enough for this. Then identify and explain 3 weaknesses of payback period. Done many times. Ignores time value of money. Focuses only on a specific cutoff date. Ignore time value of money. Not all cash flows are considered. Ignores project profitability. Perfect. Same ideas discussed in the previous questions. And finally, the last one. Define and explain sensitivity analysis and explain 2 ways Alexandra can use sensitivity analysis to further evaluate proposed projects. We discussed this yesterday as well. Sensitivity analysis is a tool which we use. It's like what if analysis. It's a tool we use to determine the effects of various variables upon the outcome of the project. How does the change in cost, tax rates, cash flows affect the viability of the project, right? And how we can use it. Sensitive analysis can help to define the maximum outflow and a minimum inflow necessary to make or keep the capital investment project successful. What is the minimum and maximum swing in the various variables. Even if that change occurs, still the project is viable. And more importantly, using computer simulations, we can change many variables simultaneously and see its impact upon the project's viability. That's why it's quite a useful tool in evaluating the viability of the project. That's all. Sufficient, explains well what is needed.